After this video, you'll never hesitate between do and make again. Hi everyone, welcome back to Learn English Podcast 360. Today we're going to fix one of the most common English problems, do and make. And I promise, by the end of this video, you'll feel calm and confident using both. So, let's begin. Why do and make confuse everyone? These are small words. They look simple. They are only 2 or 3 letters long, but they appear everywhere. You hear them every day. In movies, at work, at school. In normal conversation, native speakers use them naturally. They don't stop. They don't think. They just say them. But learners? Learners often pause. Maybe this has happened to you. You want to say something. The sentence is ready in your head. You open your mouth, and then your brain freezes. Do I say make homework? Do I say do a mistake? Is it make exercise? Or do exercise? And suddenly silence. You stop speaking. And that silence feels worse than the mistake. If you've felt that before, you're not alone. Almost every English learner struggles with do and make. Even advanced learners sometimes hesitate. And here's the reason. There is no simple one-word translation in many languages. In some languages, one verb covers both ideas. But in English, we separate them. And that separation feels confusing at first. But today, no stress. No long grammar rules.
No complicated charts.
No difficult words. Just clear ideas. Simple logic. And real-life examples. Because once you understand the feeling behind each word, everything becomes easier. So let's slow down. Let's understand the idea behind each word. Let's start with do. Here is the core idea. Do is about action, tasks, and activities. That's it. When we use do, we usually focus on the action itself. Not the result. Not the product. Just the activity. We use do when we talk about work,
Tasks.
daily activities, things without a physical result. Let's look at some common examples. We say, do homework, do the dishes, do the laundry, do work, do exercise, do your job, do your best. Notice something important. In all of these examples, we are talking about an activity, a responsibility, something we need to complete. When we say do homework, we are not talking about creating something new in the world. We are talking about completing a task. When we say do the dishes, we are talking about washing them. The focus is on the action. When we say do exercise, we mean the activity of moving our body, the effort. When we say do your job, we mean perform your duties. So, here's a simple pattern. When we focus on the action itself, we often use do. Let's take a moment to reflect. If someone says, I did my homework, what do we care about? We care that the task is finished. We are not talking about the physical paper. We are not talking about the shape of the writing. We are talking about the responsibility. The task was completed. That's why we use do. Now, let's look at another example. I will do my best. What is my best? It's not something you can hold. It's not a physical object. It's effort. Again, the focus is on action. That's the heart of do. Do is about effort, about action, about responsibility. It's the verb of daily life. You do your homework. You do your work. You do the cleaning. You do the shopping. You do what needs to be done. It sounds simple, right? But let's go a little deeper. Why don't we say make homework? Because homework is not something you create from nothing. It's a task your teacher gives you. You complete it. You perform the action. So you do homework. Why don't we say make exercise? Because exercise is an activity. You perform it. You don't create it. So you do exercise. And here's something else important. We often use do when the noun is general. For example, do work. do business, do research, do
cleaning.
These words describe activities, not objects. So, remember this. If it feels like a task, a duty, or an activity, it is often do. Let's say that again clearly. Do is about action. Now, let's move to make. Here is the core idea. Make means create, build, produce, or cause. When we use make, something new appears. There is a result. Something exists after the action. We use make when something is created. Something new appears. Something changes. Let's look at common examples. We say, make food, make dinner, make coffee, make a cake, make money, make a plan, make a decision, make a mistake, make a noise. What do all of these have in common? There is a result. If I make coffee, there is coffee in the cup. If I make dinner, there is food on the table. If I make a cake, there is a cake in front of me. If I make a plan, now the plan exists. If I make a decision, now the decision is real. If I make money, now I have money. If I make a mistake, something new has happened. An error exists. If I make a noise, now there's sound. So, here is a very simple explanation. If something exists after your action, we often use make. Make is about results. Make is about creation. Make is about change. Let's compare gently. You do work, but you make money. Why? Because work is the activity. Money is the result. You do exercise, but you make progress. Exercise is the action. Progress is the result. You do your job, but you make a difference. The job is the task. The difference is the result. Do you feel the difference? Do is about action. Make is about the result. Now, let's look at one example that confuses many learners. Why do we say make a mistake? Why not do a mistake? Because a mistake is something that appears as a result of your action. Before you speak, the mistake does not exist. After you speak incorrectly, the mistake exists. You created it. So in English, we say you make a mistake. And here's something interesting. We also say make a decision. A decision is not an activity. It's a result. After thinking, you create a decision. So you make a decision. But we say do research. Why? Because research is the activity of studying, reading, and learning. The focus is on the process. So you do research. See how it works? Again, don't try to memorize hundreds of phrases. Just remember the feeling. If you are performing a task, it's often do. If you are creating a result, it's often make. And the more you listen, the more natural it will feel. So take a deep breath. You don't need to be perfect today. Just understand the idea. Do is about action. Make is about result. And that simple idea will already make your English much clearer. Now, let's talk about the mistakes that almost every English learner makes with do and make. First, I want you to relax. If you have said these before, that is completely normal. Almost every learner has. Let's look at some very common errors. First one, wrong. Make homework. Correct. Do homework. We say do homework because homework is a task. It is work. It is an activity. We are not creating something new from nothing. We are completing a task that the teacher gives us. So we focus on the action, and that is why we use do. Next, wrong. Do a mistake. Correct. Make a mistake. This one feels strange at first. Why do we say make a mistake? Because a mistake is a result. Something happens. After your action, a mistake exists. It is like you created an error. So in English, we use make a mistake. Don't worry if this feels a little funny. It becomes natural with time. Next example. Wrong. Make exercise. Correct. Do exercise. Exercise is an activity. It is movement. It is effort. It is something you do. So we say do exercise or do some exercise. Again, focus on the idea. If it's a task, do. If it creates something, make. Let's say that again slowly. If it's a task, do. If it creates something, make. Language is habit. You don't learn this by fear. You don't learn this by stress. You learn this by hearing it again and again. The more you hear, do homework, the more natural it feels. The more you hear, make a mistake, the more automatic it becomes. So if you made these mistakes before, that's okay. You're not bad at English. You are learning patterns, and today, you are building a clearer pattern in your mind. That is real progress. Now, let's move from rules to real life. Daily life situations, real spoken English. Instead of long grammar rules, let's see how do and make sound in everyday life. Imagine this. Let's look at an example. Morning routine. I wake up at 7 a.m. I make coffee. Then I do some work. Why do we say make coffee?
Because coffee is something we create.
Before, it did not exist. After we prepare it, now it exists. So we make coffee. Then we say, I do some work. Work here is an activity. It is effort.
It is a task.
So we use do. Let's try another situation.
School.
I have to do homework. I have to make a project.
Homework is a task.
So we do homework. But a project? A project is something you create. At the end, there is a real result. A paper, a video, a presentation. Something new exists. So we make a project. Do you see the pattern again? Task, do.
Creation, make.
Let's look at one more example.
Work.
I need to make a decision. A decision is something that appears after thinking. Before, there was no clear choice. After thinking, now there is a result, a decision. So we make a decision. I need to do my job well. Your job is your responsibility. It is your duty. It is something you perform.
So you do your job.
Let's build a short story using both words. Every day, I do my job.
Idę me tasks.
I do my best. And slowly, I make progress. I make new ideas. I make changes in my life. Hear how natural that sounds? We don't think about grammar. We think about meaning, action,
Do.
result, make. Let's try one more small story. It's Sunday. I do the laundry. I do the dishes. Then I make lunch for my family. After that, I make a plan for next week. Laundry and dishes are tasks. So we use do. Lunch and a plan are things we create. So we use make. This is how native speakers think, not about rules, but about meaning. And now you're starting to think that way too. Now I want to talk about something very important. Confidence. Here's the truth. Even advanced learners sometimes pause with do and make. Sometimes they stop for 1 second and think. That is normal. Fluency is not about never making mistakes. Fluency is about continuing to speak. If you say the wrong one, it's okay. You can correct yourself. For example, I need to do my homework, and then continue. Do not stop the conversation. Do not feel embarrassed. Just adjust and move on. English is not a test. It is a tool. And tools are for use, not for fear. Now, let's practice together. I will say a sentence. You repeat it out loud. Ready? I will do my best today. I want to make progress. I need to do more practice. I want to make a change in my life. Feel how natural that sounds? You do your best. You make progress. You do practice. You make a change. Action. Result. The more you speak, the more your brain builds this connection. And one day, you will not even think about it. Let's finish with a very simple summary.
Say it with me.
Do is about action, task, work, or activity. Make is about results and creation. You do the activity. You make the result. Don't memorize long lists. Understand the idea. When you understand the idea, you can use it in many situations, even new ones you have never heard before. That is real learning. If this video helped you finally understand do and make, then you're already making progress. Keep practicing.
Keep speaking.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Because every time you speak, you're doing something important. You are building your confidence. You are making progress in your life. If you want more simple, real English like this, subscribe to Learn English Podcast 360. We're here to make English easier, clearer, and part of your daily life. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode.